the big idea behind Titan is that everybody would play on one server. It was a one server, one world game. And the world was massive. It was going to take place in future Earth.
This part should be very interesting because, to my knowledge, Titan was supposed to be that next big MMO, and it wasn't. So let's learn more.
Huge game that promised to be the sort of the MMO to end all MMOs. I mean, it's kind of a legendary vision for a game, right? It's gigantic, with a lot of, like you said, a brilliant team, a team that's now hardened and knows how to do a great game. But it was canceled after 7 years in development.
7? Wow.
Tell me, what was the vision of the game and what happened?
Sure. So as we were experiencing success with World of Warcraft, there was this concept in the studio that WoW wasn't going to last forever. WoW would be maybe successful for 5 years and eventually kind of age out. And the studio would be in real trouble if we didn't have another massively multiplayer online game.
Interesting. Okay.
Sort of waiting in the wings. So starting around, I want to say 2006, maybe 2005.
I'm going to pause this just briefly because someone in the chat asked a pretty good question. Winters26 says, where do you get the best constructive criticism? And I think that's a good question because, like, if you shut out all the noise, then, like, who is going to give you feedback? And for me, I would say I get the best constructive criticism from my wife. Like, number one, for sure. Like, she listens and hears the streams. If I'm saying something crazy, she'll call me out. She's like my best, what's the word I'm looking for? Beneficial adversary, right? It's like, she'll tell me what I need to hear. So I'm very thankful for that. But it's from people, more generally from people that I care about. So, and I guess I shouldn't say I don't care about other people, but I just don't know them. So people that are friends. So like a Savix or like a Peekaboo or like my parents or like maybe my moderators or like something like that I have this relationship with, and they're going to give me feedback and I'll listen. And like sometimes the good friends will tell me the stuff that I need to hear. Right. And that's where I get my criticism from, but not from some random troll on the internet typing on a Twitter post that knows nothing about me or have never met me. Right. So anyway, hopefully that answers your question. I thought it was a good question, so I paused the video for that. And guys, thanks for all the subs on the Golden Kappa train. Let's keep going here.
The talk of starting a team really picked up momentum, and we were working on Burning Crusade. Rob Pardo took the helm to start sort of Titan development. We didn't even really have a team then. And I remember being like embroiled in Burning Crusade and going to Titan meetings, and Rob pulled a group, from kind of across the company, and we started talking about what this next MMO could be and when it would get going. And eventually it started in earnest, like real development around 2007. The first team members joined. And it was a real ambitious project, including like building a new engine from scratch. I think maybe the first team member was a guy named John LaFleur, who was just a stellar game programmer. And the engine, which ultimately failed for Titan, ended up becoming the engine for Overwatch, which is a great success story for him.
Not being fantasy driven, being like in space or something like that. And maybe I'm just off here, but like for me, it's like, bro, like not like everyone saying no. Like I don't know if I could see it, man. Maybe I'm off here, or maybe I'm in my own little bubble because, we grew up in that like Lord of the Rings, like World of Warcraft, there's like mages and warriors. Like, I don't know, dude. Something about like the next big MMO being like spaceships and stuff. It's just like, I don't know if I see it. And hey, man, maybe I'm completely off. Maybe I'm completely wrong. But like MMO and fantasy worlds, just like, oh man, it's like peanut butter and jelly.
Played as secret agents. And by day, they all had day jobs. And by night, they went off and did cool secret agent stuff. And the secret agent stuff was very first-person shooter, but over-the-top abilities, like you would see in Overwatch, because that's where they came from. And the by-day stuff, we were going to let you run businesses. We took a lot of influence from games like Animal Crossing, Harvest Moon, The Sims. We had a brilliant game designer and game director named Matt Brown, who was the creative director on The Sims. He came over. And so we had this vision that there was going to be all this like daytime business house stuff. You could build a house, you could live in a neighborhood. And beyond that, there was also a vision on the technical side, game design and technical side, that unlike World of Warcraft, which the modern day term for is that it's sharded. Mm-hmm. So meaning people play on different realms or servers. And a WoW server, I haven't been on that team in a very long time, but back in the day, you might have 5,000 people on a WoW server. It's a
little different now.
Before they'd have to spin up another WoW server. The big idea behind Titan is that everybody would play on one server. It was a one server, one world game. And the world was massive. It was going to take place in future Earth. And we were literally building, like, we have what we call Bay City, which was San Francisco. We had, Hollywood. And then we had to build all of California between that. And we also wanted to build like Cairo and London. And there's this realization of like, how do we connect all of these? The game had driving in it, like full blown, like GTA style driving. It was such a gargantuan, huge undertaking with a brand new engine, a brand new team, a brand new IP, intellectual property, setting, which we really wrestled over. Like
one's in the chat if you would play that. Two's in the chat if you would just like stick to WoW if they release that. Titan. Like, honest. I'm seeing a nice mix here. I don't know if I would play it, to be honest. Like, it seems maybe cooler for like a GTA crowd, or like maybe not a Blizzard crowd. Like a GTA crowd would probably think this is kind of sick. I'm trying to think. I just don't know. I'm like a superhero at night, and I have just doing like GTA stuff during the, like, I don't know. But like I said, I'm more of a fantasy guy myself. So I don't know if it would work out for me.
Out that the IP just, trying to figure out, like, are there aliens or not aliens? Like, all that sounds kind of dumb and fun, but when you're building a game, like especially world building, you have to have rules. That's what makes world building work, is that like this exists in this world and this doesn't. And why? It's like, because someone said so, and just the way it needs to be. But that development started in 2007, kind of as ideation, brainstorming, early work, really got going in late 2007. And then I had to ship Wrath of the Lich King. And it was, we had we always did a champagne toast. I still remember it because it was election day. I think it was like election day and my birthday and the day Obama got elected. And then I left the WoW team on that day. It was like memorable in all those ways. And then I joined the Titan team. And that game, we went on, like, the fast forward part of that is we shut it down in 2013. That was one of the most painful development processes that I've ever been a part of.
Yeah.
And probably probably deep into 2009, I knew that the game in its current form could never ship and would never exist. And by 2010, like after numerous times trying to convince the powers that be that like this game is not going to happen, it's in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
I remember going to Mike Morheim in 2010 and like you're going to the CEO of, you know, at that time Blizzard was a big company and I'm like, you got to shut us down. We're
Wow.
just going to burn money.
That's crazy.
What was your intuition about why? So, like, from my understanding, there was a few issues. So, one was such a gigantic world, which, by the way, is a beautiful dream.
I think that's one of the things, though, that Blizzard has historically done well is they know where to... They know that like cutting something short and shutting it down is better than releasing just a massive failure. Or maybe they used to do that really well. Maybe they still have. I don't know. But like versus like, I don't know if you guys have seen what is that documentary? Is it Fire Festival? I want to say where like you have this guy at the helm. It's like, no, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. And you just like do it. But it just like is an absolute wreck. And it's like GG's. It's like knowing when to call it quits and being like, yeah, we tried that and we learned a lot about what not to do. Let's not go down this road and cut the losses. And it feels terrible. But then it's like, all right, now we know, right? Now let's move on.
This kind of universe simulator, because I love every game you mentioned there is great. I empathize with the dream. I would love to play that game. But one of the issues, as I understand, was it was unclear what like the quest flow is. Like, what are you supposed to really do in this game? What's the thing that connects all of the pieces together?
So it was a multifaceted failure for many reasons.
Multifaceted failure.
Ultimately, the failure of Titan lies with leadership, team leadership, myself included. Like, there's just no getting around that. And then on top of that, like a lot of games you can point to as being like an engineering failure, like the servers didn't work, or like an art failure, like no one responded to the look of the game, or design failure, like it's just not fun or it's tuned poorly. We failed on art, engineering, and design. And I'm cautious about calling out art because some of the best art ever made at Blizzard was made for Titan. My criticism isn't of the art that was created. My criticism is that we never had any art cohesion. So the art looked like it could have come from 10 different games.
And we should say it cost $83 million across those years. So large team doing a lot of stuff, but not converging towards a game that can actually ship.
Correct. As like a game designer, I use semantics a lot, and I like to define my semantics so people know where I'm coming from. Talking about ideas versus vision for a second. Ideas are easy. Ideas, I can have 10 in 10 seconds. Let's make a 2D platformer about a mouse, whatever. Like you can... I want a secret agent by day is, doing all this cool shooting stuff. By night is running a flower shop. Ideas are just infinite, at least on creative teams. You have no shortage of ideas. What I call vision is the ability to not only take a great idea, but shepherd it into existence. And you're doing that through inspiration, first and foremost. If you need a team to make it, you need a team to believe in the vision of the idea. And then there also has to be a technological plan for the idea. There has to be a design plan. There has to be an art style for the plan. There has to be a pragmatic production reality to the plan. And Titan kind of was like, that was the hubris of Blizzard in that era at its height of, we were over being hurt about, World of Warcraft. I don't know if people are going to like it. And we were now in the era of like, we made World of Warcraft. We can do no wrong. This next thing is going to be the best ever. And
Wow.
there was also a lot of what I call anticipatory hiring, or like there's opportunity hiring, and then there's also anticipatory hiring. I have the exact opposite hiring philosophy. I won't hire anybody on any team until like we're feeling like we got to work overtime, or like we might not ship if we don't get, somebody else in here. And Titan kind of had that hubris of like, well, we're going to build a really big world. We don't know the story of the world yet. We don't really have it mapped out what it should be like. We don't have the art style really defined. We don't know
So many MMOs fell into the same trap. Even Blizzard's MMO that was supposed to kill WoW fell into this trap. And it's that there's no pre-existing IP. Like World of Warcraft had Warcraft 3 and it was so successful and there was so many fans and there was so much excitement. But all these games, it's like you try to get people to fall in love with it. It's like, well, what's the story? And it's like, well, this happens. And it's like, it's hard to do that in that direction. Instead, when you have that IP and you have the story that people love, right? And then you turn it into that next MMO. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm into this living, breathing world. It's just much different. And once again, that's why I'm very excited for the Riot MMO, because you have this world with these characters, with the IP that people love. And it's like, just flesh it out. Cool. But when you're just like, oh, let's make the next MMO, and you don't have a story, and you just kind of put a bunch of money into it, and it's like,
technically how we're going to make the art or what the constraints of it are, but we know we're going to build a really big world. So let's just start hiring environmental artists. And like in 1 year, we would hire like 70 environmental artists from all over the world. We're getting visas and like the top tier talent, because at the height of World of Warcraft, and nobody knew the team that they were coming on. It was Blizzard's next MMO, top secret. And they, their first day at work, like some, poor guy from Belgium just shows up and he's at his first day at work and he's like, oh, are we making World of Starcraft? Is that? And they're like, no, dude, let me show you it. And he's like, what is this game? We were in that world, and we hired way too many people. The right way to incubate a video game is you have the smallest group possible, and you try to get the idea across with whatever technology you can get your hands on, using other engines, using art from whatever. You prove out that idea, and once you know what you're doing, then you expand the team. The cliche of idle hands is the devil's work, or whatever. Yeah. You have these like brilliant team, huge, and we don't have a roadmap for what we're making or how we're going to make it. And now you're having to deal with all these people. Like they're coming into your office, you're trying to figure out.
They didn't have a Chris Metzen, right? They didn't have that guy just saying like, this is what it's going to be. And we're going here and there, like that visionary that just kind of mapped it out all in his head, right?
What is the quest flow? How do I design the quest system for Titan? How can we prototype it? And we're like, oh, this prop artist over here is running out of stuff to do. What props should he make? Should he work on Chinatown or the Hollywood set? And you're just making up busy work. The engine didn't work. When we would run playtests on Titan, we would have to tell the team, stop checking in because it slows us down. We had this really great technical artist, guy named Dylan Jones. And he was on Titan with us. And I remember in like the last days, we asked him, because he was a very active user, Titan editor was called Titan Edit, or TED, which is, to this day, TED is the proprietary tool for Overwatch, since Overwatch came from the Titan engine, which was Tank. And we said to Dylan, I want you to log your uptime in the editor in TED. And in a 40-hour week, he was only able to work for 20 hours. And you can imagine you're building a team of the best in the best in the industry, and they can't work. So not only are you just burning cash faster than anybody on the planet, it's also like, imagine having fighter pilots, but we don't let them fly.
Yeah.
Like the creative frustration and the way that manifested itself, and how demoralized the team got. It was a disaster.
And so many elements of that were done completely differently for Overwatch, which turned out to be this incredibly masterful execution on a short time scale with a small team with a clear vision. I read that sort of, if you were to compare Overwatch and Titan, so the defining characteristic for the Titan team that said yes to everything, and the Overwatch team said no to everything, meaning focus, like deep focus on the execution of a very clear vision. And maybe that's the process of designing games, like you said, is, on a team that's full of incredible ideas because it's creative minds, it's constantly saying no. It's a really painful process, but perhaps it is the responsibility of leadership to just keep saying no, which sucks. I guess it sucks to be a leader on a team in that sense because you're constantly saying no.
Being a creative leader, you're in two modes. You're pushing or you're pulling. And whatever mode you're in is the exact opposite of the team.
Mm-hmm.
When they're not thinking outside the box enough or like elevating the vision enough, that's when you're pushing them. Like, come on, guys, don't worry about the schedule. We got, capture hearts and minds, inspire people. And when they're going a little crazy and endless source of great ideas and really fun development, that's when you got to pull and say, guys, we need to ship this. The best feature we can add for the player is shipping. That was a common phrase that we had.
So when Titan was canceled, I mean, that must have been a gigantic heartbreak for everybody. And there was this moment when the plan was for the Titan team to be disbanded and moved elsewhere, but you fought for keeping some part of the Titan team, the core of the team, together. And Mike Morheim gave you 6 weeks to come up with a pitch for a new game. And you talked about this process. And you've mentioned that there are 3 possible ideas, directions you're thinking about: a Starcraft MMO, maybe an MMO in a new IP called Crossworlds, and then the third idea was Overwatch. Can you take me through those 6 weeks?
Yeah, the 6 weeks, it was supposed to be the greatest time ever, if you think about it, because you're a game developer at Blizzard and you get to come up with a new idea.
Mm-hmm.
So that sounds awesome. Like, to everybody at Blizzard, to all game developers, it sounds great. But we were probably the most demoralized we'd ever been in our careers. At least I was. I didn't know if I was going to be fired. I didn't know if that was the end of my career at that point.
Wow.
And so it was like a really serious kind of dire environment that this was happening in. And we were given 2 criteria that we had to hit for these pitches. The first one was that we had to ship within 2 years. And that is a very ambitious time frame for
crazy.
Any game.
That's crazy.
So that's probably why he instantly steered away from an MMO, a StarCraft MMO or an MMO with new IP or a shooter. You can't make an MMO in 2 years, right? Like, that's not even, I mean, come on.
But for a Blizzard game, it's kind of insane.
Yeah.
And then the second, the second is even more ambitious and crazy, was whatever we made, whatever we pitched, had to have the potential to have World of Warcraft like revenue.
Yeah, right.
And to date, at that point, there was one game that had World of Warcraft like revenue, which was World of Warcraft. So immediately I just threw out the revenue thing because it's all fucking Monopoly money to me.
Yeah.
Like, this game money it's insane, and I just don't think about it. That's someone else's problem.
Oh
But,
my gosh.
I did want to be as realistic as I could about the schedule part of it. So most of our team, the Titan team, was 140 some people. Most of that team got moved to go work on Here's the Storm, the D3 expansion, World of Warcraft, Hearthstone. So immediately, large number of the team was gone. Then we had a bunch of like what we called temp loans, people that someday were going to come back to us, but we loaned off for like 6-month tour of duty. And then there was a very small team. There was a group of engineers that was mothballing Titan. So it exists somewhere at Blizzard at that point. And they were also deconstructing the engine because they knew it didn't work anymore. And to make a new game, it had to be way reconsidered to sort of what it is today. And then there was a very small creative group that was supposed to come up with these 3 pitches and given 6 weeks. And we just sort of arbitrarily decided, like, let's spend 2 weeks on each pitch. The ground rules that I sort of led with is you have to be all in for the 2 weeks on the pitch. So if we're, pitch 1 was a Starcraft MMO, and we have to live and breathe and want it more than anything. And I kind of warned everybody, I said, at the end of this 2 weeks, you're going to think this is the only game idea and you're not going to be invested in the next, but we're going to throw it out as soon as we finish it and do the next one. And the Starcraft MMO, I actually really loved that pitch. It was called Starcraft Frontiers. And the concept was like less of you're playing like Space Marine, like it was less army.
He's still married to this pitch and it's been like 12 years. He's like, man, that would have been fun.
Starcraft, the RTS is always about the 3 races and the giant armies. And kind of what made WoW and separate from the Warcraft RTS series was that instead of being like a footman in the army in World of Warcraft, you were like a lone adventurer, make your mark on the world. So we had this idea, it was this old Chris Metzen drawing of a space prospector. And I love that idea that like somewhere out in like where all the giant Starcraft battles were happening, thousands of Zerg and Protoss and Terran, there's like this like lone prospector on some planet, like going through like a mysterious dungeon, looking for minerals, but finding monsters. Like it was that kind of spirit of
that's awesome.
More on the ground level.
I didn't even think about that because my intuition with StarCraft MMO would be the soldier as part of the army, right? The prospector. That's such a beautiful vision. Yeah.
Yeah.
Looking for the resources and on the way finding the monsters.
You want to be on the ground, like what's it like on the ground floor? And I don't want to be a minion in a giant army. I want to be Indiana Jones in space, Nice. So then there was this Metzen picture of the prospector, and then 2 of the most amazing artists, Arnold Sang and Peter Lee. Arnold's the great character artist. Peter Lee's the great environment artist. They did this concept art for Frontiers that was Metzen's space prospector. He's smoking a cigar and he's got his foot on a Hydralisk skull.
Nice.
And then there's like a med vac in the background and they're on this like big alien planet. And like that picture, you just wanted to like, here's my money, I'll pre-order now. Like sign me up for that game. That picture ended up being McCree from Overwatch. We redid it.
Nice.
But yeah, that was where McCree actually came from. So that was the Starcraft Frontiers idea. We we went all in on the design. We had a world design, we had class design, like how the classes would work, what progression might look like. And you also have to think when you're trying to design an MMO, like what could expansions and live content be like? And we put together a really good pitch. We all knew there's no way you can make this game. Like this, even though it was more focused than Titan, it's 5 years on Blizzard's best day with nothing going wrong. In perfect scenario, 5 years to make that game, probably with, 150 to 200 people. Like these 40 people are not making that game in 2 years. So
that's what I was kind of saying. With the time frame in mind, the 2-year window doesn't work for that StarCraft MMO. That's probably why they went with a shooter, because it's like, yeah, you can actually do that.
As much as which
is also why, sorry to pause it again, which is also why so many game studios these days with all their funding, it's like if you're going to get funding to make a bunch of different things, like how many people are going to fund an MMO? And that's why all these studios are going under and all their funding's being pulled, is because it's like, dude, it takes like 5 or 10 years, like 5 perfect years, 10 years if not, like so much money. It's just a gamble. It's like, if it works, yeah, maybe you make the next WoW, but if it doesn't, it's like, bro. Whereas like some of these other genres, you can pump out much quicker. It's a whole world.
Like, again, that was an idea, not a vision, because it lacked the path to reality. You know,
because that's a legit large scale MMO in a world that you haven't quite developed in the way that an MMO needs. It was really crafted for the real time strategy formulation of StarCraft, and it's in space. It would take. I mean, it would be incredible, but it would be a 5-year and realistically even more.
Like an endless thing that you'd spin on that team. You're making the StarCraft game. How do you get from planet to planet? Is it a cutscene? No one's going to want a cutscene. But we should probably make it a cutscene because that's easy. But we got to have space flight. That you're adding like 3 years just by saying we got to have space flight.
You are, yeah.
And then how do you make a space game without space flight? We've all played them. We know those games. So
are you essentially, when you're brainstorming like that? And by the way, it's such an incredible thing that for 2 weeks you're just really falling in love with.
Space games for me, I've already said this a bit ago, are like hard to get into because it's like, I almost want to be confined to a world. When you have a world that's too big and too expansive, literal space, you don't like, you're just flying everywhere and it's just like so massive. It's like, I almost want like a Westfall and an Elwyn Forest and like have some boundaries, right? Like a little bit. I don't know, man. I don't know if I've ever really like for like an RTS it works, but for like an MMO, how would you make an MMO like space MMO work in a really like fun way where you feel connected to the world and it's not just this vast expansive forever, you know? SWTOR did a good job of keeping it close knit. Okay, so like SWTOR kind of did a good job with that. Seems like a tough one. Maybe I'm just a space hater. I don't know. I love StarCraft, by the way, but for an MMO, fantasy.
With the game altogether and trying to figure out if it's actually possible. So if you're developing that, are you just constantly trying to say, like, what is the simplest possible thing we could do that's a complete world? Like, are you constantly trying to simplify, or are you allowing yourself to go big?
So when you're brainstorming and you're with the team and you're the creative leader, it's, guys, what's fucking amazing? What's big? What do players need? There's a Blizzard design value called what is the fantasy? What is the fantasy? You want to be in space. You want to be in the StarCraft universe. And then your job as the game director, and if you have a great creative director, art director, tech director, the director should be scoping it back into reality. The mistake I see on a lot of game teams is scope becomes a production problem. You give it to the project managers or the executives or the producers to say, no, there's not enough time, or you guys should hire more. Because,
right,
like, what do executives, what do those types have at their disposal? That they can hit you with meetings in Outlook and tell you that you can hire more people. That's not really how you get the game made.
That's why they get paid the big bucks.
The scoping, your best case scenario is when your tech director, art director, and game director are doing the scoping. Because then you know, like, this part we got to spend big bucks on. There's no getting around it. This part we can cheat. If you have a giant team and one guy's job is just to make props, crates and chairs, the guy's going to make that's a AAA awesome developer who's going to put his heart and soul into it. If you let him, he'll take 6 weeks to make a crate.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have that moment where you're like, I kind of need 200 crates. So just spend like a couple hours on that one. And that's a hard thing to say to somebody.
You're doing this kind of scope carving while also talking about what is the fantasy. So there's a tension there that you're constantly dancing with. So you're allowing yourself to think big, but then scoping it down and doing that on a scale of days in this case? Like,
yeah, we had 2 weeks. So, and I don't think I was working on weekends, but we weren't getting the group together. So it's, like 10 working days.
And then you like shut it off and go to idea number 2?
Yeah. Idea number 2 was Crossworlds. That was a Metzen vision for a universe. And like, I'm glad Metzen's back at Blizzard, and I hope they make this game someday. The way Chris described it was there's a planet on the edge of the universe that's like the Mos Eisley spaceport with all these, freakish aliens and people from all walks of life, and it's kind of seedy and criminal.
Mm-hmm.
And there's traders and smugglers and diplomats, but this one planet is sort of the planet that they've agreed to like meet on, and this is like the neutral place. And then the game was going to take place on that planet. So
this is awesome.
Yeah. So that was more of like a world IP driven one that was really inspired by Chris.
And it allows you to play with different characters, I like that. I like that idea a lot because it's the meeting place of different worlds, and then you can allow your imagination to drive what the worlds from which they came from are like. So you don't have to design those worlds.
No, you don't have to design them, but then they're yours. Like if the players really are reacting to like the green people planet or whatever, and someday you're like, hey, what expansion should we make? I don't know, green people planet.
Yeah.
Like, let's do it.
I like it.
So it was actually it was Crossworlds. We were working on Crossworlds, and like the Starcraft Frontiers, for Frontiers, we were having the class meetings, how class progression worked, like the game designery stuff. And on Crossworlds, we were having a class meeting of like a big decision in like RPG type games is always, are you doing like skill based or class based? Mm-hmm. And it's usually some combination of those. But class based, you're like choosing, I'm going to be a warrior, therefore I use sword and shield, and I do these things. Where more of a skill base is everybody's kind of an avatar, and then the skills that you pick define. So I might take that I know how to use swords. So you're kind of making those decisions. And with all things game design, there's no right or wrong. It's all trade-offs. So the trade-off decision we were making is like, oh, I think we want to be class-based with this Crossworlds thing. And we were in a design meeting, and one of my favorite designers of all time is a guy named Jeff Goodman. He was one of the original WoW encounter designers. He designed like Onyxia and all the big raid bosses. Like if someone has a favorite raid boss, Jeff probably designed it. And he just kind of off the cuff said in this meeting, he said, I wish instead of making like 6 classes, I wish we could make 50 classes. And I wish instead of having like, 100 abilities on the classes, the 50 classes all just had like 1 or 2 things that was really interesting about them. And then the class meeting ended, like we designed our 6 classes in that meeting. And then the meeting ended, and I was back at my desk, and it just stuck with me what Jeff had said about the way he wished he could design the classes. And then I also we had this directory of all the amazing Titan art.
Mm-hmm.
And I started pulling up Arnold Sang's characters. Arnold's vision and his art is second to none. And I started taking some of the old Titan characters that we had designed. We had a class called the Jumper, and the Jumper could like teleport forward and rewind time and come back. and the jumper used dual wield pistols, which was at the time designed after my dual G18s from Modern Warfare 2. Was my favorite loadout.
Tracer,
I was just cribbing Infinity Ward. That's where Tracer's guns came from. And we had all these like different guns, like some that bloomed and some that, you know, had this like really crazy recoil, and we had other types of guns. And I took every version of like the Titan jumper and I just distilled it into what I thought was the best version of the jumper, which was, you know, the dual wield pistols, the blink.
This is making me think of like, you know how in like with reading, you have like literary history, and like all of these historical books kind of like take inspiration from other historical books and kind of build. And then you can take like a history class of like, you know, of these books and read the greats and get the inspiration and see how all of these things stemmed. There should be in college, or maybe there already is, there should be like a game history class that teaches you all of these historical video games, how they built up and how they influenced other games. And then you have to play them all, of course. I think that would be really fascinating. Like really, I don't know if there's a book out there or a class or if a university is teaching this. Maybe it's too early. I don't know. Maybe there is. But yeah, maybe for people that have become game designers that are in the chat, that would be a really fascinating thing to try to understand. Like, what were the original games, video games out there? And maybe the video games had inspiration from non-video games, which is probably the case. So what are the original games out there that inspired some other, you know, staples that then inspired the first video games that then inspired the, you know, the greats and stuff like that, like, and how it's all connected. That would be a really fun thing to study and like check out. So yeah, like a film studio at a university would be like something like that, but like for video games, you know, game designers don't know anything. That's the problem. Well, I think there's some that are really good. Oh, Envy typed that. Wait, is that the right Envioso? Hey Envy, how's it going? Anyway, we got a super chat from Greg over on YouTube. He says, just a little thank you for all the YouTube content. Thanks for supporting. It's a massive super chat, maybe the biggest super chat we've ever gotten there. It's a $69 super chat, so thank you to Greg. Day 9 should teach that course. Yeah, it would be a fascinating thing to like either read about or to get, you know, to like learn more about of how all of these games, because listening to Jeff talk, all of the things that he puts into these, you know, great games are experiences he's had in other games, like a little inspiration here and there. It's like, how does all this actually build up, you know? I teach game development at DigiPen, and we definitely teach the history of games. Bro, so that's awesome. I would love to sit in on one of those classes. That sounds really, really fascinating.
The Recall and Time Bomb, and then I took Arnold Sang art, and I went, you know, to Arnold, and I'm like, what if this wasn't like a class? You know, who is this as a person, not a class? And Arnold, oh, what if she's British and her name's Tracer? And like, that was the origin of Overwatch. And some of the pragmatic part of that was I knew that Jeff Goodman was going to be on this team, and I knew that Arnold Sang was going to be on this team. And it's a play to your strengths moment. Like, what could we make in 2 years with the talent we have? And what is realistic? Like, what could we realistically make? Mm-hmm. And so then I just sat there and I sort of, I went through a bunch of Titan classes with a guy named the Gun Jack who became Reaper. We had actually the Ranger got split out and became 76 and became Bastion of all things.
You're describing the game of Overwatch where exactly that vision from that meeting came to life, where you, as opposed to having a small number of classes with a large number of skills, you have a large number of heroes with each their distinct look, distinct set of skills.
Yeah, and the personality was a big part of it, like capturing, this isn't some generic, the jumper, it's this person, Lena Oxton, and she has a life, and we're going to, make you interested in her.
Yeah, there's like a deep backstory. And that's also what's interesting about Overwatch is that backstory is not like revealed in a direct way. It's like seeps in indirectly throughout the game. So the backstory is implied almost, and it's told not directly. So there's a lot of ideas like this, and so this is the thing that the team converged to.
Yeah, well, and it was funny because like we're having these Crossworld, like people are, writing design docs and doing concept art for Crossworld, and we'd have some brainstorm meetings every day. And I put together, it was a 7-page deck, Overwatch deck. And it was called Monetized Shooter at the time.
Yeah.
And it just said Monetized Shooter. And then the first slide was League of Legends plus Team Fortress 2 logos.
Yeah.
And then I had like 6 heroes like sloppily designed. And as everybody was working on Crossworlds, there were 2, co-leaders of that Team 4. There was, Chris Metzen was there and Ray Gresco. And I remember Ray coming over. Ray is like a phenomenal game developer of all time. He like wrote the Dark Forces engine, was the production director on Diablo 3. He and I killed Titan. And then he's
Nice.
at my desk looking over my shoulder, and he's like, well, what are you working on? Is this the Crossworlds pitch? And I'm like, no, this is like another idea that I'm just working on the side.
Wasn't the rule to only work on one in each 2-week period? Like Crossworlds was supposed to be the only thing they were thinking about. Jeff, what's going on here, bro?
And I show him the 7 slides, and he just looks at me and he says, go show Metzen this. This is what we should make instead.
Oh, he broke his own rule, man.
And then I went and I showed Metzen, like, hey, this is just an idea. And then Metzen was like, yes, like this is what we should make.
Yeah.
And I showed Arnold, and it was Arnold's art. And then Ray tells me, he's like, because every morning we get the team.
That is when you stumble upon a great idea. Is when you're like, this, it's like, I don't know, this, I don't know. It's like when it feels right and you're like, yes, that's the one, there we go. That makes sense. That feels good. It's not just like, we could maybe make this one work. Yeah. 5-check passed. Exactly.
Team together because we were in this like dire straits, and we're midway through at that point. And Ray and a producer named Matt Hawley said, tomorrow morning at the meeting, you're going to pitch this monetized shooter idea. It was called monetized shooter because originally when I pitched it, it was free to play and you had to buy the heroes, which is fucking terrible. But at the time, I actually thought that was a good idea.
That's probably why they went for it. Holy crap. Free to play and you buy every hero.
And I'm walking down the hall with Matt Hawley to go like pitch this to this group.
Okay.
We're supposed to be working on Crossworlds, and they're like, you got to pitch this idea to them. And Matt Hawley stops me in the hall and says, Jeff, you cannot go into that meeting. I refuse to put up a deck in front of the team where the first slide says monetized shooter.
Mm-hmm.
They'll hate that. And that's not the spirit of who we are as, creative develop. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. Like, well, no one was supposed to see this deck anyway. You guys were all looking over my shoulder. And he's like, you need to put a name on it. I'm like, it's Overwatch, like right on the spot.
Wow.
I said the name was Overwatch. And where that had come from was when we were working on Titan, I was really angry about this. We did this fake, I did not do this. Another leader on the team did this, of this fake like we're going to put up whiteboards and everyone gets to vote for their favorite name for Titan.
Mm-hmm.
But the person who did it already had a name in mind for the game and just kept pushing towards that name.
Yeah.
And the thing that got the most votes was Overwatch. Overwatch in Titan was like a police group, essentially. But somebody had written Overwatch on that board and it got the most votes. So I basically named the game Overwatch to like high five my team and kind of middle finger.
Yeah.
Like, don't act like it's a democracy when it's not.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So it's a middle finger.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
that's
Overwatch,
kind of a cool story.
And then, the rest is history. So what in that slide deck, is that, in that slide deck, did you already have a kind of crawl, walk, run idea of the way this would be developed?
So my deck was terrible. People actually, there's a thing called a Jeff deck, which is, it's always gray with black writing and then the default like PowerPoint blue shapes because I just don't bother making it look good.
Oh gosh.
Besides dragging Arnold Sang's art, desecrating it into my deck. We had this amazing game designer on the Overwatch team, a guy named Jeremy Craig. Who's now actually game directing a game over at Bonfire. Jeremy, not only was he a great game designer, but he had the ability to sell things better than anybody else visually. So Jeremy took my shitty deck, and then we had lots more like creative brainstorms, and we thought through the game of Overwatch a lot more. And then he made this gorgeous pitch deck that we pitched. We first had to go through the Blizzard production and game directors for them to approve it and give it their thumbs up. Then we had to go through the Blizzard executives. Then we had to go through Activision. Mm-hmm. And in that deck, because we had to speak to schedule, we had to speak to two things that were tough to speak to. One, we had to speak to schedule. And we came up with this concept of crawl, walk, run. We had identified the reason Titan failed is we just tried to run. We tried to come up with the next World of Warcraft. But if you think about World of Warcraft, it had Warcraft 1, 2, and 3 to build upon to even get to the point where people gave a shit enough about that world to want to live in the world of Warcraft.
Exactly, yes.
So the idea was that instead of trying to cut right to World of Warcraft, let's try to honor Warcraft 1, essentially.
Yeah.
So this first game is just to establish that there's a universe you might give a shit about.
Exactly.
We also knew that the time frame we were given of 2 years, there was no way to create a compelling PvE experience.
I think what Jeff just said right there is what I've been trying to scream off the rooftops for these last few years is you can't just build an MMO if no one cares about the world, because why should anyone care? I think every MMO kind of falls into the same problem. World of Warcraft had the Warcraft IP. It's a big deal, man. And that's why League of Legends coming out with a League MMO, I'm very hopeful for. I'm still not calling it a WoW killer, but I'm very hopeful for. A lot of people care about Runeterra. A lot of people care about this world. It's just instantly something for people to understand and care about. So it's it's going to be instantly more successful than all the ones that just spun up random IP that no one cares about. It's I'm glad someone else said it. Thank you. Yes.
So we just kind of randomly put dates in a slide of crawl, walk, run, thinking it was aspirational, and really we were just trying to save.
I want to go back and watch this. So what is this? Launch Overwatch Strike Force PvE co-op. Oh, I see. Wow. So they were actually going to do an Overwatch MMO 5 years later. So they even pitched it as slide from the Overwatch pitch deck. Wow. So they were gonna create a world first with a little shooter, get people invested, and then make the MMO. Interesting. I never knew that. And this is all after Titan was scrapped. Yeah, and then they decided to just obviously not do the MMO yet. Probably not happening, right? or the PvE co-op mode. Does that exist? I don't think so. Super interesting.
Run, thinking it was aspirational, and really we were just trying to save ourselves. Like, don't cancel us. This team can make something great. The other part that we had to talk to too was like a mobile strategy. Like at that time, it was like everything has to be also on mobile, which I think is the dumbest thing ever. And so literally what we did is, this was Jeremy's brilliant part. We had a picture with all the boxes, and then one of them is like a tablet with just a fucking Photoshop of, Arnold's art on it. And we're like, and also it'll be on mobile.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
But I think this crawl, walk, run idea is really nice. So that the initial idea
oh my gosh,
is you would have basically a shooter with all these different characters, all these heroes, and then the walk would be the PvE version of that, co-op. And then if people really fall in love with the world, then you build a big MMO around it. Quick pause for a bathroom break.
All right, guys. Wow. So we watched Why Jeff Left Blizzard and Diablo 4 and Getting Back to Making Games and The Legend of California and early Blizzard culture, building World of Warcraft, how WoW changed video games, single player versus multiplayer, how Blizzard made great games, online toxicity, why Titan failed, and Overwatch in 6 weeks. So we've watched almost this whole video now. Whoops. Okay, it's 3 p.m. That was such a good watch. I don't know if I'm gonna watch any more. We watched almost the whole thing in reverse order. We watched like the end first and then the start. There's some early stuff that I didn't watch. If you guys want to check it out, it's just Jeff Kaplan interview with Lex Friedman. It's all over YouTube right now. It's getting spammed in my recommendations. The first part of it, which maybe I'll watch another day, or just maybe I'll watch tomorrow, maybe off stream, maybe tomorrow, I don't know. It's just like early games like Pac-Man and stuff, his writing career, EverQuest, and then getting hired at Blizzard. And like we started like here. So yeah, if you guys want to watch that, maybe I'll even check out this first hour, just kind of like an intro hour.